Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast with Blaha, and today we're having steak, brown rice, and broccoli. See, it's not fully broke because I have steak instead of chicken in here. Alright, let's talk a little bit about 4 cornerstones of training. And this is at least how I view it. And I view the 4 cornerstones of training for us, again, strength training, right? For strength-based training. And they are hypertrophy, strength, speed, conditioning. And the thing is, it doesn't matter which of these goals you're pursuing the most, whether it's the size or the strength, these cornerstones all still work together. And if you don't implement all 4 of these cornerstones, in my opinion, you're not going to maximize your progress in either of the other 2 areas, because they all feed into each other. And then what ends up happening is that you make compromises. It requires you to up the dose, bro. All right? If your training's imperfect, that may be your only solution. And same thing. You might have to use more if you choose to go on to get the same results from inferior training. Unbalanced training. And when I say size, people will say, well, I don't really understand. I thought you said size and strength feed each other, that everyone who wants to get big should be training for size, which is exactly the point. And it's also interesting to start with size for a good reason out of those 4. Start with it for a good reason, because a lot of people train for size. I don't necessarily want to help those people. I'm not interested. I don't think it's as worthwhile of a goal. But it doesn't remove the fact that it's a goal. And my thing I've said before, again, I've done a consultation with a serious bodybuilder who, wanted some discussion on how to get his deadlift up and paid me for one of my consultations. And again, he's a big fan. He's like, I kind of thought you were going to give me a hard time about being a bodybuilder at first. I'm like, no, not really, because you care about strength. See, that's my other thing with the people who chase a look. I think how do I be nice? You're a motherfucking pussy if you don't care about strength. I'll just call it like it is. You're basically a bitch. But if a guy says, well, I do care about how I look, it is important to me, but I want to be real strong, they add that as a second caveat. I can respect that. There's a massive difference between those 2. That's what someone who I would respect will say. But when you get someone who says, I'm a bodybuilder, not a weightlifter, yeah, you're a motherfucking bitch. That's what you are. I don't want to help you. You guys see the difference? All right, my little rant out of the way. Size is required to maximize strength. So let's come over to that point. When you get someone who says, I just want to be really strong, I want to be as strong as possible, but I don't care about size. See, the other one is a bitch. You're a moron. Because you can't do that. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that some hypothetical guy in Idaho benches 450 and squats 600 at a body weight of 152 pounds. Some hypothetical person you've never met. It's completely irrelevant, isn't it? Because that's not you. And 99.999% of the population do not have the genetics, the freak weird genetics to have a really high levels of strength without corresponding muscle. So we come to that question, well, why do we separate them then? Because you still need to train for strength. Strength means that we take the muscle that we have and we maximize the potential of it. This is by lifting really heavy. Okay, we get bigger through training volume. Mechanical tension matters. It does matter, but there has to be sufficient volume, and more volume up to a point usually produces a little more size. Strength, we need to lift heavy. 1 to 5 rep range, limited volume. We can do them together. right? These cornerstones fit together. We can train them in the same week. I'm big on concurrent training. Okay, I'm very big on concurrent training. We train all 4 of these cornerstones every week, ideally. As I get clients who don't have time to train all of them, and I get that. Can't get all of them to do it. All right, what's next? Strength is self-explanatory. You lift really heavy. You maximize the neuromuscular efficiency, the neural drive of the muscle that you have. The other, we build muscle. Number 3, speed. Speed carries over to maximum strength. All right, let's discuss the other point about being athletic. It's fine to be slow and strong, but what if you do want to be athletic? It's better to be fast. It's better to be fast. Number 2, it will affect your max strength. The ability to be explosive will help you blow through sticking points when you do attempt a real max lift or any max effort endeavor, because it doesn't have to be weights. The reason speed is considered so important in contact sports, it is that ability to push through with maximum force. How do we develop speed? You can do dynamic effort work if you're going to do conjugate. You can do things like cleans and snatches, right? Those are speed strength developers. Plyometrics, jumping and throwing. You guys have seen me do both on camera in vlogs. Don't pretend you don't know what jumping and throwing means. Throwing med balls, jumping on boxes. More advanced would be things like depth jumps. You don't just jump in the air, though. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend jumping squats. All right, so speed. And number 4, conditioning. How do we develop conditioning? What's GPP? Now, could you do high-intensity cardio to develop conditioning? Yes, but it's not GPP. GPP is strength-based conditioning. It needs to have a full body strength component. Pedaling on your bike doesn't train your whole body. You're not training your core and everything else. So resistance-based. The easiest ways to think of it, what are we talking about? Barbell complexes, pushing or pulling sleds. If you push, it's usually called a prowler. Right? Weighted carries. Beating a big tire with a hammer. Flipping a big tire flips. Right? This is what we mean by conditioning work. Conditioning it raises your work capacity. It raises your work capacity. Let's come back over to that other point about size and volume. Size and volume. People point out there's individual differences in the volume tolerance, right? So some people cap out and can't gain more past a certain point on their volume performance tanks. Anyone consider that's not fully genetic? It's number 4, it's your conditioning. People who are in better shape have a higher work capacity from this, can handle higher training volumes, number 1. And number 2, they can recover from them better because their body's adapted to clearing the waste products. So when you combine these 4 things together, these are your 4 cornerstones. 4 cornerstones of training. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.